Hey, Phil from the future here. The recommended round for this video is round 4. It is incredibly grindy, so it's going to be very long, but if you want some good technical magic, that game is nuts. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and we'll take a look at them after round 1. This is a deck list that has been sitting in my queue for a very long time. Months ago, John D submitted this deck list that wanted to ramp out White Plume Adventurer via mana dorks like Noble Hierarch and Birds of Paradise, while otherwise playing it in a value-oriented blue shell. So, buckle up. There's a lot of jank in here, but it's probably going to be okay. So our general game plan is to be a Yorion ramp deck. We are going to have powerful cards that can spiral the game out of control, like White Plume Adventurer and Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, as well as utility cards like Spellseeker that are going to allow us to kind of get out of weird situations. If you take a look at the sideboard, you can see that like the sideboard is very clearly constructed to be a Spellseeker sideboard, so that like, hey, I can board in this Angel's Grace versus Doomsday, this Meltdown versus 8-cast, this Surgical Extraction versus Reanimator. Like, the deck is built around Spellseeker to some extent. And that's very clear once you start taking a look at cards like Ephemerate. Ephemerate is very neat in this deck list, as it can allow us to venture deeper into the dungeon by flickering White Plume Adventurer, or get more value and more cards by flickering Spellseeker. Otherwise, we have some other very good targets for Ephemerate, such as Solitude, and Omnath is kind of our curve topper that we can fetch off of Green Sun's Zenith. I will say I took one card out of the deck. Ligrella the Magpie is a very interesting Green Sun target, but since we're only playing 2 Green Suns in this deck, and this isn't really a thing that's good to ramp out early, I cut this for a second Uro. Otherwise, I've left the deck exactly as it was submitted. I think the cards that are here are relatively reasonable. Now, I do have some concerns about the deck list, and there's two. Number one is focus, number two is blue card count. So let's start with the easy one. I didn't do the math on it, but it seems like we're a little bit light in terms of cards to pitch to Force of Will in game 1. For game 2s, once we board in like Force of Negations and Flusterstorms for the combo decks, like I think our blue count is totally fine. But I am worried in game 1s I'm going to be put into these situations where I'm going to have to pitch a critical card, such as an Omnath or a Brainstorm, that's going to let me shuffle away the cards that aren't situationally good. I worry that my Force of Wills aren't going to be as strong as they might be in the average blue deck, since like we have so many cards dedicated to like ramp and the Green Sun package and the whole Ephemerate stuff. So I'm a little worried about that. Thing number two is focus. We're not actually a very good Green Sun deck. Like, the Green Suns are primarily serving to either get us a mana dork, including Dryad Arbor there, or like to get us our big endgame thing. But we don't have nearly the utility of a normal Green Sun deck because we're trying to do so many different things with like the Spellseeker, Ephemerate, Fable, the Initiative. So that's kind of one thing to keep in mind. And the deck not maxing out on the full playset is kind of part of that. Yeah, so we'll see whether we're trying to do too many things here or whether it's just kind of a glorious pile of good stuff that kind of works out. With that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the league and see how initiative feels in a blue deck. Because let me tell you, I'm looking at challenge results from the weekend, and the initiative did well. If you're new here and you like what you see today, please consider subscribing to support my content. And if you're a regular, throw me a like before this video begins. It's the easiest way to support my content for free. Let's battle. Okay, I will probably keep this hand. And is going to allow me to play Mana Dork into Uro or Mana Dork into Spellseeker. I probably can't play Spellseeker. It probably has to be my card that I pitch to Force of Will. But we'll see how the game develops. Alright, Mana Dork has resolved. Step 1 complete. I am definitely a little light on action here. Like, this Solitude is not really playable, and if this just eats like a Prismatic Ending, I don't think I can really Force of Will it. I think I just kind of have to naturally hope that things work out off the top of my deck. I think it's going to be more important to try and fight over something like a Planeswalker later. Alright, there's a Fable, so I have multiple good 3-drops if I can hit another land drop on curve. But if I were to miss my land drop, I think I'm in a lot of trouble. We might be playing against a... This card isn't very good right now, given my hand. But I think this is enough value that I just fight over it anyway. Like, my Spellseeker is not going to be particularly great when I'm choked on mana. That's not the land I wanted, but it's not the worst. So I'm currently the control deck that is missing land drops versus the control deck that is presumably not missing land drops. And my opponent can start casting things like Expressive Iteration in this turn cycle. Fable discarding Uro is hot. I like that. My opponent will cast this Brainstorm from exile, which is good because I'm going to have at least a chance to cast a 3-drop before I lose Noble Hierarch. Ooh. If one of these resolves, I probably want it to be White Plume right now. That guarantees a land drop. Others don't guarantee additional mana. Alright, I need to get blue here. Oh, my secondary color. I can't get blue-red. Maybe get the Trop for smoothing out Uro. Alright. Will you resolve? No. I mean, we got another Expressive Iteration out of hand, which is nice. That's probably GG. Like, if my opponent follows that up with a powerful 3-drop play like a Teferi. Oh, Esper Sentinel. Sure. Murktide Regent. Murktide Regent. I think unless I draw a white card in short order, I'm just dead. I'm not dead yet. However, don't really expect to win from this position. I was in a situation where I needed to hit land drops, and I didn't, or I needed to resolve a card, and I didn't. So another Prismatic Ending is very strong here. That'll just take me off mana while pumping Murktide Regent. Uh-huh. I think I'm comfortable conceding the game here. Like, I know where this goes at this point. I've been killed by Murktide Regent enough times to know, like, I'm not winning. So, I don't need Collector Oof. I'll probably board in Pyroblast as a Spellseeker target. Beyond that, I don't really have too many cards that I'm going to want. Force of Negation is reasonable. I don't know that I can board it in over Force of Will because of how important it's going to be to answer things like Murktide Regent. My Prismatic Endings are maybe medium, but there's Counterbalance to worry about. There's potentially things like Stoneforge Mystic to worry about as well. How do I feel about Spell Pierce? It's going to become bad as the game comes along. Would I rather have a Force of Negation over it? I probably would, because I'm going to tap out a lot of times. Because so many times I'm going to tap out for like White Plume, Fable, a large Green Sun, whatever. Maybe when I'm on the play, this is still reasonable. This is a hand that has lands on spells, but doesn't really do anything. Am I supposed to treat this like a blue deck and just keep this and play it slow? Or am I supposed to mulligan, do something that has mana acceleration? I don't know. I'm gonna keep it. I really don't know if that's correct. Island Ponder. I don't think I'm interested in these. I would rather find like a Fable or an initiative card here. Nope. My Brainstorm next turn may make or break this game if I kind of whiff on a draw again. My opponent could have some sort of Daze type card, so I'm going to go ahead and play out a fetch land now. Okay, these cards are much better. I don't think I'm ready for Solitude yet. And I think I'll junk a land here. I'll leave the Solitude on top of my deck for a little while, just kind of in case I change my mind. Sure. Going on an end of turn Brainstorm. We are. This is a relatively aggressive Brainstorm. This could indicate that my opponent is building their graveyard towards Murktide, or they may just need to smooth things out just a little bit. Or alternatively, their mana is just tied up for the next couple of turns, and this is their only chance to cast it in the short term. With old legacy heuristics, it used to be that an end-of-turn brainstorm was, generally speaking, a bad thing to do. That is resolving. But I think legacy has changed enough that that's really not true anymore. Maybe Trop here. Kind of respect working towards green, green, blue, blue for Uro. Let's drop a Fable here. Try to get this ticking up. The other option is get Spellseeker and start working towards Pyroblasting this counterbalance out of play. Alright. So their brainstorm was to set up counterbalance, probably on some lower number. Alright, there is Daze in this deck as well. So I would now categorize myself as behind. Not necessarily overwhelmingly so, but my opponent gets some good value here. We're throwing cards into this. Gotta get something to stick. And then I just try to find a point where I can Pyroblast the counterbalance out of play safely. Scalding Tarn on top. Okay, it has resolved. I think I'm gonna go for this. It doesn't necessarily work immediately, but I think it puts my opponent in a really awkward position where I just kind of hold this, and then I have some really cool in-response shenanigans that I can do. This is maybe greedy on my end. I'm not the biggest fan of all these solitudes, but I can play a good amount of my game at instant speed, which is nice against solitude. Or sorry, which is nice against counterbalance. Alright, opponent's down to 18. I'll attempt to do this again. There's a Source of Plowshares on top. That's a Force of Will. I can't Ephemerate right now because Source of Plowshares is on top. But that's alright. Alright. This nonsense starts happening. Is this my Ephemerate moment? Probably not, because my opponent has Source of Plowshares mana open. And there's a Brainstorm in exile. That's going to put a 1-drop on top. Maybe 2 1-drops on top. So my Ephemerate is clunky right now. Not that the Pyroblast wouldn't have been. It's kind of awkward that a lot of my aggression that I currently have with my hand is also just tied to a card that I want to play after my opponent plays a removal spell. Or sorry, after they play a creature. I think I'm just bashing in for 1. Passing the turn with Hardcast Force of Will available and Hardcast Solitude available. Both of which are awkward against a Daze. That is a Murktide Regent, which is going to, I think, resolve. And I just attempt Solitude into Solitude on it. Big ol' 6/6 body. Volcanic Island here? No, I need white, so Tundra. Alright, you get your counterbalance trigger. It is super, super unfortunate for me if there just happens to be a Force of Will on top right now. Okay, yep, so they do that while my Ephemerate is down. Alright, we are incentivizing the fetch. And we'll see what happens with the counterbalance. Swords to Plowshares on top. Nice. Get out. Another Swords to Plowshares. That's okay, I'm not dying right now. Not dying is very nice. So probably take this turn to just put the Yorion to hand, although it's tempting to hold up Force of Will. In my worst case scenarios, I do have Force of Will available by pitching Yorion. That's not really what I want to do, but I am covered for the disaster level scenarios. The repeated 1-drops on top of the deck hasn't been the best for me. Ooh. I'll let that resolve and try to Swords it, probably. Gotta attempt to use this card at some point. Alright, there's a Wasteland on top. Oh, nice. We cleanly answered the Mentor, which is not something that super typically happens. Yeah, I think I'm just casting Yorion here with Ephemerate up. It was a little awkward because of the Wasteland that is about to happen. Maybe I don't actually cast it with Ephemerate. Well, Magic Ending can fetch planes if it needs to, but then I can get knocked off of red via Plateau. Also get knocked off of white. Yeah, okay, I guess this is fetching a basic plains. Alright. Do I want to just play bird this turn as well? No. Alright, there's a Yorion. A low value Yorion, but it's a Yorion. It's in play. It's a 4-5. I'm terrified of my opponent getting expressive iteration type cards. Alright. So we try to blink my Yorion and see if that works. This is currently dazable. An EI on top. That's the 4th source of Plowshares. Say la vie. Surgical extraction on my Ephemerate. I don't really know why why surgical extraction has been boarded in here. That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Yeah, so wasteland my plateau. Yep. That's annoying. I think I just hardcast Force of Will on expressive iteration. It's a little awkward. The opponent's not casting it. Then I think I need to be aggressive here and put this Solitude into play. I just don't think I can pass my turn without using any mana here. Well, that was random. That fucking sucks. That would have gotten me either way. So let's brainstorm and try to fix this situation. Multiple green suns are very good. I don't want bird at this point. Probably get rid of the Force of Will. The timing is just really awkward for me to use. So I can do this for X is 3 and get a get an Uro. This is total CMC 4. I can't get my Omnoth here. Alright. There's Uro. Not put a land onto the battlefield, although I'm happy enough to see Prismatic Ending here. I'll pass the turn. Yeah, you can expressive iteration. Finding another expressive iteration, sure. Yeah, being the blue deck that does not have expressive iteration feels very bad. Like, I really wish my Spellseeker package was just something like expressive iteration. It's just a tighter package that's, objectively speaking, more powerful. Wasteland is strong. I expect my tropical island is probably going. Yep. There's a Force of Will. So I know my opponent has a Force, which kind of makes me want to just cast an Uro here, rather than go for the Omnoth right now. So I have blue, blue. I need a green here. Taiga seems like the correct land. Doesn't matter too much what I take out of my graveyard here. I'm not going back in there. Actually, I guess if my opponent is randomly boarding in surgicals against me, it does matter. So I take out my cards that my opponent might want to surgical. Alright, here's Uro. Wow. So I don't want to cast the Prismatic Ending while that Force of Will is still in my opponent's hand, because, like, this is great for long term, but that's the second blind counterbalance flip on a non-1 CMC card that they've gotten in a row. That's super frustrating. Alright. So now they have Force of Will and Force of Negation. Not a great time to fight over counterbalance. Maybe it's just happening anyway. Let's cast this for 2. I expect that my opponent might have a 3-drop on top right now. Do I want to Pyroblast? 3 and 1 are the most likely things that are on top right now. I would probably put a 3. I mean, if they have one. Let's go for it. This could incentivize them to fetch. Okay, it did. A Surgical Extraction on top. That counters Pyroblast, Force of Negation counters Prismatic Ending, and they're going to strip my Uro, which is a 2 of in my deck. So I don't really care. Like, it's annoying. Yep. Going to lose this game to the random counterbalance flips that did not go in my favor. I'd prefer not to cast these until they are playable around days. So let's attempt a Fable here. Alright, Scalding Tarn. Good. Opponent does have a Force still. Alright, cool. At least I thought they had a Force. Possible that that was put on top with, like, Flooded Strand and then shuffled away. Okay, that's fine. Alright, opponent is down to 1 card And I'm at the point of the game where I can play some big haymakers. But I may still come back from all of this. Yeah. Get a treasure. Deal 2 damage. Actually, I probably need to tap differently in case I draw Ephemerate. Or no, this will be 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll still have a treasure token up. Yeah. Do I... Maybe I play this for 1 more mana anyway. So that, Force of Will randomly being on top of my opponent's library doesn't answer this. It takes away some Omnoth fetch land value, though. Grab a Tundra. This is CMC 6. Is better for counterbalance. Containment Priest is in the wrong spot. There's an Omnoth. Okay. Now, for the first time this game, I feel like I'm in a very actively good position. Alright, they're fetching away that Containment Priest. And hopefully this... Okay, cool. Well, that was a slog. The game's gonna go on that long. I don't want Spell Pierce. I want a Force of Negation instead. Probably also need this against counterbalance. I don't know how many my opponent is playing, but I want to be able to tutor this up in case I need to get that out of play. Am I going down 1 Ephemerate for that, maybe? That seems reasonable. Keep this hand. By no means is it perfect, but it feels pretty strong. Ooh. Don't like seeing that. Am I in the market for a basic land here? Just basic land, ponder? Probably. Let's go ahead and do that. See where we go. These are fantastic. I will absolutely take these. Put Prismatic Ending on top. No shuffle, and we attempt to Prismatic Ending this out of play around Daze next turn. And go from there. Okay, with only taking 1 from Dragon Rage Channeler. Ooh. That card is really powerful too. So, which one of these am I trying to remove? I probably try to play on curve around Daze by removing Dragon Rage Channeler. Ledger Shredder is obviously also very good though. I'm seeing a lot of threats that I didn't see in previous games. I didn't think my opponent was going to be this threat dense, given how long the last game went and how few threats they actually had. Okay. I don't mind just taking 1 here. I think I'm going to cast an end of turn Brainstorm. If my opponent dazes this, they can put a +1/+1 counter on Ledger Shredder, but they would use a daze on a card that I do not care about. Yeah, fantastic. Take your +1/+1 counter. Now I can attempt to resolve a card that matters in some capacity. I think I'd like to answer this before playing White Plume, so I think it's going to be Fable this turn. Although it could just be Ponder, look for Source of Plowshares, attempt to kill this as well. But I think I'm into Fable. See if it resolves. It does. In some worlds, that forces the Ledger Shredder on defense. While it's not a problem yet, I am also down about 2 minutes on clock. So that's a thing that I'm going to have to keep in mind. Ooh, okay. Yeah, where were all of these creatures in like the 30 turns that we played last game? This is a very different looking deck this round. Alright, goodbye. Take 2 from Ledger Shredder. And I'm gonna have some choices to make. I'm definitely using the ability. I don't know that I'm really ready to play a White Plume right now. Like, I am currently attempting to be the control deck. Like, I need to take these things out. I'm not ready to play a threat, so I think I'm going to discard 1 land and White Plume. That's not bad. I think I want to ponder. Like, I know what I'm looking for. Removal spells. I think this is too slow and dazable. Try to do better than that. Not super interested in that. I'm just going to Brainstorm on my opponent's turn to not grow Ledger Shredder. I'll be hitting land drops so that I can attempt Solitude on it in the not too distant future. Now that we're in combat, let's go ahead and do this. Grab. It doesn't need to be Tundra. Use Savannah. Oh no, I need blue. Drop then. Let's Brainstorm looking for a removal spell. Alright, Blast is fine. I'll take 4. I'm at 12. Got days as a thing that I need to think about. I don't know that I can think about it. There's just not a lot of time here. I've got blue, blue. I've got white, white. I could use green, green. So let's pick up a Savannah. Pass the turn and do this in my opponent's upkeep. Opponent could have days or Force of Will plus blue card. They do not. I think this is the point where I basically win the game. Reflection of Kiki-Jiki plus Solitude is now going to be incredibly strong, and I have Ephemerate to help protect it if my opponent gets cute with their timing. Okay, that gets a Ponder. So Ponder is on top of their deck. They can now look for a removal spell or an expressive iteration or whatever. Alright, they didn't shuffle, so they found something good. Yeah, there's an expressive iteration. Okay, yeah, absolutely use your mana to brainstorm. Okay, there is a land drop. So they could still have access to a removal spell. Nice. So let's attempt to target my Solitude here. It works. Get rid of Snapcaster Mage. Crash in for 6 points of damage. Opponent goes to 16. Play an Outland Liberator. And I've got Ephemerate to protect my stuff. This feels like a very strong position. Now, stuff can happen. My opponent has 4 cards. But feel pretty good, especially with Force of Will back up now. Attempt to copy Solitude. It enters. Target Esper Sentinel. Is 8 damage. Drops my opponent to 9. Uh-huh. Alright, cool. I don't think I fight over that. Like, it's good, but my opponent is facing down lethal damage with Force of Will backup. Yep. Alright, that's a shuffle. That is a Murktide Regent. I think I use my Force of Will. Or no, I can just Solitude it out of the way. I don't have to end this game next turn. Sure, resolves. I don't want to get greedy here and lose because of it. Target Solitude. Get you out of the way. Like, I'm still just doing 8 damage this turn, and I'm putting my opponent in the exact same situation they were in last turn, but I'm better able to play around the days type cards. Was that round 1? Oh my god, this is gonna be a day. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is a deck building site for Magic the Gathering. If you're like me and you make a lot of deck lists, and I'm talking like 5 or more a week, you might be kind of frustrated with how hard it can be to find them in some databases. Worry not, Moxfield has all of these nice hubs that you can use to kind of mark your deck lists to make them more easily searchable and findable by other people who are building similar things as you are. Okay, this opening hand just doesn't have enough mana. This is an auto mulligan. This is quite good. I will keep this. Spellpierce or Solitude is going back. Spellpierce, while in theory good in the early game, is just not going to work out with this hand, because I'm going to go turn 1 Noble Hierarch, turn 2 White Plume Adventurer, and I'm not going to be holding up mana for this. I might still keep it over Solitude anyway, just because I'm not... Well, I will get to a 4th mana if this resolves. Alright. Spellpierce can go back then. I immediately noticed that my opponent is now mulliganing to 4. So Solitude should have gone back instead. Welcome to things that happen when you're recording that don't happen when you're paying full attention to the game. Swamp, Dark Ritual. Okay. It seems like it largely would not have mattered. So I think I do attempt to Solitude the Grizzlebrand here. Pitching White Plume Adventurer. I don't want my opponent to use a discard spell on me and then reanimate this. I don't know. At the same time, though, like, maybe the only way I win this game is putting that White Plume Adventurer into play fast. No, I think it's too risky to keep this. Alright, let's pitch White Plume. And we junk the Grizzlebrand. I now have something in my graveyard that's very good. Exhume is largely going to be shut off for the remainder of this game. Alright. How bad is it? Well, there could be another creature in here after this. Oh, there's not. Oh, that was an incredibly long pause, followed by a Dark Ritual. Another Grizzlebrand in yard. Uh-huh. So, my opponent can do a new draw 7 here, and then lose Grizzlebrand. Do you have more free stuff like Lotus Petal and Grief? Or they could just hard discard some creatures here. Yeah, there's 2 Archon of Cruelties. Oh, this turn is super interesting. So, I can play out Noble Hierarch, which would put my opponent to 8 life, meaning that Reanimate on Archon of Cruelty is off. Brainstorming for blue card plus Force of Will is pretty unlikely. I think I'm going to go ahead and grab a Savannah here and take them off of Reanimate specifically. Because my opponent has a discard spell, like a Grief. They can just play that prior to reanimating this. Alright, they're at 8. Reanimate is off. Uh-huh. This is why I didn't hold up Swords. Although I could have held up Brainstorm to put Swords on top of Library. Alright. There's Badlands. It's an Animate dead. That's not great for me. I think I'm getting rid of my Noble Hierarch so that Ephemerate on Solitude isn't out to this. Brainstorm, probably? Considering that I have Savannah in play. I wonder if it was correct to do the Brainstorm baseline. Spellseeker's not great here. So I'm always losing my Solitude when this thing attacks, so I should just go ahead and attack in for the 3 life. I wonder if my Brainstorm line was just better. I think it was. I don't know. Like, my opponent reanimates the Archon of Cruelty. Is that 1? Yeah, I think I like the Brainstorm line better. Like, I knew ahead of time that, like, a Grief was going to beat my Swords to Plowshares, and I had a way to play around that. That I just should have taken. I think I punted this game. Not like it's a clearly wrong play. The lines do different things. And are mathematically in pretty similar places, because an Exhume and a Reanimate both have been used already. Okay, sure. Prismatic Endings and Swords to Plowshares both looking good right now. Although this thing getting into play would be a pretty huge detriment to me. By the way, seeing how aggressively my opponent was mulliganing now, in the opening hand I probably would have found a way to keep both Solitude and Spellpierce. Alright, there is another Reanimate. At this point I don't really think that I can win. I'll see if I draw like exactly Swords to Plowshares or something. I don't. I will concede here. So the bad news is, because I'm playing this cute like Spellseeker package, I don't actually have that many cards to board in. I have a lot of access to Surgical Extraction, but not a strong ability to actually cast it. So I've got 6 cards that I'm going to board in. Don't really need Collector Oof. Prismatic Ending is not really at a premium. It can technically answer something like an Animate Dead, but I don't know that I really want to be there. Probably don't need the full suite of Ephemerates here. Lightning Bolt, not exactly great either. Can technically do stuff versus Grizzlebrand, but I'm probably doing something that looks approximately something like this. Let's call this good. I don't really think I'm favored here. Nope. I think I would prefer to try and stop the creature from getting into play in the first place rather than answer it and keep a bunch of lands. I'm going to go to 5. Yes, this is the best of the hands that I have seen so far. I have no white card for Solitude. That probably needs to go. I don't have the mana for Uro. I think that's my other card that goes. Mana is awkward. I need to get a green in order to cast Green Sun on turn 1 to accelerate so that I can play Fable on turn 2. But I basically have to get Taiga if I want to do that with 100% accuracy, meaning that my Brainstorm might get stuck in my hand for a few turns. I can loot it away with Fable, so it's not like it's the end of the world. But it sure doesn't feel great. Taiga. And get a tree. Hello, Dryad Arbor. Grief into going off very handily beats me. Alright, so my opponent is going to hard discard here. I need to hit a land to play this Fable. I have whiffed. I think my most powerful openings involved me playing that Fable on turn 2. I don't regret my fetch. Alright. You do not get to reanimate. I will surgical that. Grizzlebrand. Grizzlebrand, Grizzlebrand, Grizzlebrand. Oh man. My opponent's hand is so good. My opponent's got show and tells as well. Alright. Okay. So I know on my opponent's turn, they can play Dark Ritual, Entomb, Exhume. In order to stop that, I'm going to need to Brainstorm instead of play Fable. I have used my one surgical. More Graveyard Hate is not coming. Okay. I mean, let's fetch. I'll get a Tundra here. Cast this Brainstorm. There's a Force of Negation that I can't cast. Made my land drop this turn. It feels like I'm dead. I guess I put double White Plume on top, and there's some world where that powers through what my opponent has to offer, but I very much doubt it. Alright. Take your mana. I cannot stop you. And this is one of those instances I was talking about where I just don't physically have enough blue cards in my deck to consistently pitch to Force of Will and Force of Negation. I think since I know the top 2 cards in my deck, and I know that like the initiative cards aren't going to beat my opponent, I think I just concede. I can technically shuffle here and then give my opponent the initiative, but like I think this is over. Alright, I've kept my opening hand here. I have a reasonable mix of lands and spells. I kind of wish I had some acceleration, but I have enough generic good stuff in hand that things will probably work out one way or another. I am a little worried if I'm playing against combo, though. Like, I can ponder for counter magic or something like that, but I can't really do much if my opponent goes fast. Alright, they're just moving to the next part of their turn. Sure. Mayu into Elvish Reclaimer. Alright, fantastic. I can just Prismatic Ending that and move on with my life. I'm fine doing that off of the Tundra that I just drew. So we're going to be playing against some flavor of either Elves or Dark Depths. Still unclear which it is. Dark Depths. So I can ponder for an answer here. I think I'll play Trop and do that, leaving up my white source. Actually, I have exactly Lightning Bolt that I could draw that would make me not want to have made my land drop already. So let's ponder. Solitude is awkward. Is it worth 2 cards for me to answer Elvish Reclaimer in this turn cycle? Probably. I leave Spellseeker on top to get another Swords to Plowshares that follows that. I will buy that that is worth it. Okay. No shuffle. In case I don't want Spellseeker, I'll go ahead and play out a fetch land. Solitude pitching Omnoth. And let's get this Elvish Reclaimer out of here. Alright. Working on Weather in the Storm. Thoughtseize takes my Fable. The Illusion of Choice. Battle's fine. We'll absolutely draw the Spellseeker still. Land. Fetch. Maybe a red source here. Taiga. Play Spellseeker. Yes, I think it's going to be worth it to grab Ephemerate here. And just get this value going. We haven't really seen the Spellseeker Ephemerate train take off yet. Rude. Nor will we, apparently. Like, I've got a Yorion coming. Oh. Oh, they have named Caracas rather than one of the fetch lands that they know about. That's reasonable, but like, holy shit, it would have stung if they took my Misty. So that timeline doesn't happen, I'll play out one of these Misties. I'll floop a Yorion into my hand. Crash in for 1. Definitely scared here. 2 mana. M. Okay. I've kept the Yorion. Do I want this to become a Dryad Arbor? It might take me off of white for Solitude or blue green for Uro. I don't think I do that right now. Oh, Swords to Plowshares is nice. Maybe even an ideal draw. Alright, opponent's at 14. Alright, Boseiju to play. I'm going to continue to not fetch Dryad Arbor, just keep my flexibility regarding my lands as high as possible. Crash in for 1 with Spellseeker. Opponent goes to 13. Fetch out some lands here. I want to make sure that I have white. I can maybe get like a Savannah for one of these. Now I have blue, I have green, I have a red. The next fetch doesn't matter too much. Just grab like a volcanic island. Slam Yorion. Link Spellseeker. Go to end step. And do I want another Swords to Plowshares? Probably just pick up Ephemerate. So my opponent will copy one of my lands, or they're going to go with their own Bayou, for Hymn to Turok reasons. Another discard spell? A Vampire Hexmage. Absolutely. So, do I care about that? It means I'm attacking for less damage. My cat is sticking its little paw through the door and is playing with a bag. Okay. Maybe I don't care about that. I don't know, it does open up my opponent's mana a lot. I'll care about that. Swords to Plowshares that out of the way. Okay, opponent's done with me. And then we're gonna have like Ephemerate Yorion Spellseeker shenanigans forever, so we were in pretty good shape. I imagine the game 1 deck is largely set up the way that I need it to be. I don't really need this Collector Oof. That can go for maybe a Force of Negation or a Flusterstorm. Pyroclasm is technically playable as another removal spell for Vampire Hexmages and such, but will have some splash damage with killing some of my own stuff. I don't really know that I'm going to play that over one of these other cards. Lightning Bolt's okay. Spell Pierce is okay. Alright, so do I want a Flusterstorm or a Force of Negation? Probably Force of Negation. Again, because I'm going to be tapping out for stuff a good portion of the time. I don't know if I'm supposed to go deeper on these counterspells. I don't really have that much matchup experience with Yorion Spellseeker Ephemerate. Didn't know for sure. It seems like my removal density is largely high enough that I can get away with a lot. This is an unexciting hand that's probably just good enough to keep. Like, it basically has a removal spell already, and it basically has another removal spell already, so it's a little scary if my opponent goes turbo, but it's pretty resilient against initial discard spells and things of that nature. Yeah, so like that one can't even take the Solitude. Yeah, I've taken the Green Sun to kind of reduce my speed. That seems correct to me. Wall. I probably play a fetch land and fetch here so that Pithing Needle on a fetch land becomes less of a thing. I need white mana. I need white green. I need Savannah this turn. Savannah, Bird, pass. Bird, notably, is a flying blocker that can buy me some time. Hexmage. M. Sure. Ooh. Okay, this is looking okay so far. I don't like that. My opponent's down to 1 card, and I do get to play Spellseeker. Oh. Yeah, I'd probably just do that. Play out Flooded Strand. Lightning Bolt the Elvish Reclaimer while I can. It's not a mana-efficient turn, but it's still a very good turn. And then next turn I have Spellseeker finding Ephemerate. Opponent doesn't have black right now. Ooh, I like that. I don't like that draw, but it's okay. Do this. Play Spellseeker. I can tap my fetch land. I don't have to make my decision about fetching just yet. Spellseeker has kicked some serious ass this game. Oh, that's a concession to a Spellseeker Ephemerate loop. Alright, GG's. Okay, my hand's an auto mulligan, no lands here. This hand's a little light on mana, but is probably a keep. It's pretty good against creature-based decks. I'm going to throw back one of the 2 Spellseekers here and kind of keep diversity in my more expensive cards. Okay, so we're playing against maybe some sort of Urza Saga initiative deck? Question mark? Well, I am very happy with that as a draw. Am I playing around Wasteland? I would not like to Prismatic Vista and get Plains. I think I'm going to play out Tundra here. This plays into Wasteland. But if my opponent is going to be playing Urza Sagas and Ancient Tombs, I don't really think they have room in the mana base for Wasteland as well. Uh-huh. Oh, shit. This is Winota. Is this Urza Saga Winota? I'm gonna let that resolve and just Prismatic ending it on my turn, I think. I'm gonna have to make the choice about my Prismatic Vista now, though, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Probably green. Very bad if I do end up getting Wastelanded. Okay, so Prismatic ending targeting Thalia. This checks the colors, not the total amount spent. So this is kind of a way to, air quotes, cheat the Thalia attacks. Similar thing can be done with, what is it, Sunburst cards, like Engineered Explosives as well. Yes, these petals are fine. Uh-huh. Play your big dumb initiative card. Yeah. Absolutely not. Spellseeker or Uro more important here. That's actually really tough. My opponent's probably not going to have much removal. So, Spellseeker loops can be pretty effective. Spellseeker also has 1 power, which sounds really stupid, but trading the initiative back and forth is much better than letting your opponent singularly deal with the initiative. Now, I can't stop the initiative from coming into play if my opponent can just do it again this turn. Yeah. They're going to get to take the initiative. And they're going to get a basic land here. Is Forge optional? No, Forge is not optional. So I'm going to try to force them down the right side of this, I guess. I'm going to remove this now for mana efficiency reasons. That's an Ephemerate. We'll play Spellseeker now. Probably just grabbing a Swords to Plowshares with this one. Mana is a bit of a choke point for me right now. It could be a Prismatic ending to deal with Shadow Spear, but I'm going to grab Swords to Plowshares. Then I can Swords to Plowshares a creature that my opponent plays out in this turn cycle. We'll see which way they go. Yep. Felt kind of like they were forced that way. So they can work their way towards either the 4/1 skeleton or go diagonally across to go back to Archives. I would be heading towards Catacombs personally. I've never been in a situation where I've wanted to go diagonally across yet. That's not to say there aren't times, but generally speaking, I find going down one... Yeah, it's an Urza Saga initiative deck. An Urza Saga red-white initiative deck at that. So I get to take the initiative here. Do I have any way to deal with an enchantment? Not exactly. But taking the initiative is quite nice here. Because I effectively just get to draw a card by doing so. I think this is finding basic planes. I have a lot of uses for white mana as of right now. So let's play this. I've got the mana to go ahead and play out another bird. Is there anything that I need to Swords to Plowshares immediately? Probably not. I think it's okay to take this time to put Yorion into my hand. If my opponent has a haste creature and I get punished for this, like, so be it. My opponent's top decks are scary as fuck. Okay, that's not actually bad for me. I can just Swords to Plowshares that and then move on with my life. I like my opponent's list, though. So do I want +1/+1 counters on birds? Probably. Alright, Forge the birds. Okay. So, Swords to Plowshares, an Archon of Emeria, so that I can play more stuff. Now I can Ephemerate a Spellseeker at instant speed to Swords to Plowshares something else. I've got this bird mana, so that's the 1/2 mana devoted to that. I've got 3 other mana that I can work with. I guess I'm going to want to fetch something with Windswept Heath so that that doesn't get randomly Pithing Needled. I can attack with the Spellseeker. That's fine. Not you. If my opponent just takes the 3, they're not just going to take the 3. They are gonna go ahead and make that. Guess it doesn't matter whether I do this before or after blocks, so I'll let them block. I will Ephemerate. Yes, I'll use this ability. I guess I could pick up another Ephemerate. I can do that later, though. I guess I can pick up Prismatic Ending and answer one of these at sorcery speed. Yeah, that seems good. Save the Source of Plowshares for a little bit later on. I'm going to fetch with this anyway. Fetch a Plateau. Prismatic Ending that Construct token away. Call it a turn. My opponent has probably put their best Urza Saga tutor target into play already. Could be wrong. Yeah, Relic's fine. That's not hurting me any as of right now. Alright, Caves of Chaos Adventure is a little scary. My opponent gets the initiative back. So they can get a treasure token. That doesn't matter much right now. I can take the initiative right back with my flyer. I'll Ephemerate my Spellseeker. How much mana do I have to work with this turn? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I just get a Swords to Plowshares this turn, rather than an Ephemerate. A Ponder. Kind of need to remove Caves of Chaos Adventurer before its attack trigger. I guess I could not take the initiative this turn. Yorion blank Spellseeker and remove both of my opponent's creatures. Is that better? That might be better. Give my opponent the 4/1. Alright. Play Yorion. Blink Spellseeker. Let them keep the initiative. Return Spellseeker. Ooh. This is my 4th Swords to Plowshares, notably. Alright, take your 4/1. Opponent's removal density is insane. I really like their deck. I'll respond. Junk Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Junk Construct token. And you can now make me have a very expensive Ponder if you would like. I really need to stop my opponent from getting Throne of the Dead 3. Shadowspear is a bit of a problem. Not that big of a problem, but it's a problem. Oh man, my opponent has another hit. Or is this just a Shadowspear equip? Okay, it's just a Shadowspear equip, that's fine. Oh, cool. I think I'm going to be somewhat defensive here. I need 3 creatures back to kind of block everything that's going on here. So let's swing in with a bird to take the initiative. I wonder if I want to goad here and force the attack on the Anointed Peacekeeper. I think that's better than making them lose 5. Alright, you're goaded. Oh, I need to move to my second main here. Yorion cleanly blocks this. Spellseeker plus Bird or Spellseeker plus White Plume blocks the other one. Or Spellseeker plus Skeleton, I guess. The card better than a 4/1? I don't think so. Now do I cast Ponder? If my opponent has a Solitude and Yorion gets removed, I can go bam bam, trade here, and Bird block here. I need to not cast Ponder to play around a removal spell. Oh fuck, I forgot about this. I could have cast Ponder. I should have cast Ponder. Shit. So they get Throne of the Dead 3 here. So how bad is this gonna be? Pretty bad. Pretty bad. There's Solitude. Not that Seasoned Dungeoneer is a bad choice either. But I think Solitude on Yorion is just too good to pass up here. Yep. It's an insane amount of value. That's a 5/6/5. Ugh. So I guess, since my opponent has the initiative, I now don't have to block this with multiple bodies. I can just trade 1 with that. Am I trading multiple bodies for you? Probably. I don't want to give up my flyer with real power and toughness. Oh man, I really needed to dodge an initiative card that turn. So I'm going to get a Throne of the Dead 3 of my own on my turn, which is cool. But my opponent is definitely in the favored position here. Yeah, figured that was coming. My opponent's deck is sick. Hello. That's real good. So we're starting with my own Throne of the Dead 3. Just unquestionably, that's happening. Opponent goes to 33. This could be a very big swing. Spellseeker? Uro is really awkward. I don't have that many cards in graveyard since my opponent relicked, so I probably have to get Spellseeker. Okay. Let's get Spellseeker. I've used 4 Swords to Plowshares already. How good is Lightning Bolt? Not great at this exact moment. Get Prismatic Ending and just answer the Shadow Spear so that Trample becomes less of a thing. Or not a thing, actually. I can also just get a Green Sun to try to find something like an Omnath. Taking out Shadow Spear allows me to chump block, though. I kind of like that. Alright. Got a Prismatic Ending. Take out Shadow Spear. Have exactly 5 mana up to Solitude away their Solitude, and I've got a good blocker for White Plume. This is insane. Well, I'll respond. Past Solitude. Solitude, your Solitude. Opponent's at 39 life. My Ponder is expensive again. But I currently hold the initiative, and hopefully I get to continue to hold the initiative. I can currently attack while my opponent can't. Get another basic land here. Pick up a forest. Oh my god, Ephemerate's really good. I think I'm just going to start by casting a 3-mana Ponder, though, and see how that influences my turn. Oh, a White Plume's pretty good. I'll take that. No shuffle. Play that. Play White Plume. Take the initiative. Forge. Forge onto Spellseeker. Got a 6/6. 1 mana. Ephemerate Solitude. Bring it back. Take out the Vigilance card. I think I'm comfortable crashing in with both of these. I can trade a White Plume for a White Plume. And then I've got Ephemerate on Solitude again for the next threat. Oh my god, I get to untap all of these now because I've completed a dungeon. Hell yeah. Alright, Caves of Chaos Adventurer. That's fine. So, you get a basic land. This is one of the grindiest games of Magic I've ever played. This is turn 11. Alright. Upkeep. Re-Ephemerate. Target Solitude. Solitude, Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Find Brainstorm. Cast Brainstorm. Yeah. Yeah, those cards are good. I'm just going to cast the Solitude now. Solitude that away. Go to combat. Attack with everything except for 1 bird. 11 damage. Take back the initiative. Trap my opponent. Drain them for 5. They go to 26. Untap all of my lovable friends. Alright. I think that effectively means we're done here. I get to draw a bonus card. Play an Omnath. Draw a card. Make a land drop. Do whatever Omnath does. I'm not even going to pay attention to it. I'm looking at my clock more so than anything else right now. Yeah, Solitude's fine. You may Solitude my Omnath. That's okay. Pick up some land. Play a Spellseeker. Find some card to get with it. Could be a Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt, target Solitude. Crash in for a large amount of damage that I am not going to bother to count. Opponent goes to 9. They're dead next turn. Ugh. Yeah, opponent's deck list is sweet. Alright, I get Throne of the Dead 3 again. Pick up a White Plume. Retake the initiative. That gives me a basic land. Pick up a mountain. Crash in with everything. An opponent should be dead. Sure, Source of Plowshares is fine. I imagine you're still dead. Okay. So. Outland Liberator seems reasonable. Nature's Claim for Urza Saga seems reasonable. Meltdown seems reasonable. Pyroclast is maybe playable. There's some smaller stuff like Thalia that's going to hit. Bell Pierce seems largely bad. Most of the rest of my stuff is pretty reasonable. Meltdown for Urza Saga Construct Token seems like the #1 thing that I board in. All the rest of this stuff is probably optional. What is supposed to come out, if anything? I don't think I'm going to play Pyroclasm. Kind of want Nature's Claim. I mean, I kind of want both of these, but I'm not sure what to cut. Like, the Force of Will effects seem very important to get me out of the early turns without my opponent having the initiative take over the game. I don't think I can cut Mana Dorks. I need to accelerate into this stuff. Like, about the only thing that I feel like I can cut is cantrips, and I don't know that that's correct. I could cut, like, a Fable, but Fable Solitude loop seems really good if the games go as long as they just did. Could I cut one Prismatic Ending for Nature's Claim? Could probably do that. Those things do similar stuff. Nature's Claim hits Urza Saga. I don't know exactly. What I do know is I either need to plan to win this game, or I need to concede quickly if it looks like I'm going to lose. This is a mulligan. The second hand is not good, but I'm probably going to keep it. I'll see if it works out very quickly. Like, I can Volcanic Island into Ponder, trying to hit a green land. And if that doesn't work, I might concede very quickly. Never mind. Let's go. I can now Force of Will the first initiative card my opponent plays, pitching a Ponder. Oh, fuck. Didn't see those last game. Yeah, Relic's fine. Omnath is cool. I can do that next turn. Let's Ponder. White Plume's good. Spellseeker's good. Vista's fine. Take 2 of these. No shuffle. Make land drop. Make Noble Hierarch. Yeah, sure. I'm just going to always yield to Relic. And never plan on responding to that for clock-based reasons. So on my turn, I can play Omnath and then do stupid things. Like Omnath land drop is 4 mana plus 4 life. That's very good. Alright, so this is going to be an uncounterable White Plume Adventurer in all likelihood. Yep. That's fine. I'll be taking back the initiative on my own turn. In a highly advantaged position at that. Alright, Omnath. Solitude would be a kick in the pants here. I guess I could Force of Will it. Alright, gain 4. Fetch. Grab a land. Make 4 mana. Cast White Plume Adventurer. Yeah, sure. Take the initiative on my own terms here. Grab a land. I've played a land this turn. Do I want to pitch Ponder to Force of Will, or just play Ponder? I can just play Ponder, look for a removal spell. Shuffle all that. Oh shit, it's an Ephemerate. Yeah, that's fine. I'll hold that up. I'll untap a bird. I think I'm interested in Ephemerating my White Plume. I'm not 100% sure. See what my opponent does in this turn cycle. My opponent's Urza Saga Construct tokens are pretty small right now. I'm probably just going to make a very large Omnath. Obliterate my opponent with it. Could make a White Plume larger instead. Then more of my creatures can attack in. I think turboing towards Throne of the Dead 3 is probably a good path towards victory. Okay, this is uncounterable, whatever it is. I don't know this card. Creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers you control unless their controller pays 1 for each of those creatures. You have a floating cleric mana. Is this just a bluff? Yeah, I'll counter that. Yeah, that was a bluff with Cavern of Souls. I mean, I respect it. That's a very good play. Ephemerate White Plume. Take the initiative. I think I forge White Plume, so both of my creatures can attack in. That was dumb. Crap. Crap you. Actually, maybe it's not dumb, and maybe I'm supposed to just attack my opponent for 9 this turn and kill them next turn. Yeah. Let's try to kill my opponent. I don't know if this is correct. I wish I had put the counters on Omnath, but I'm trying to just play so very quickly here. Alright. Gain 4 life. I'll untap my 5/5. Yeah. The correct thing was put counters on Omnath, attack in with Omnath for 7, and then blink White Plume again. Opponent can get a Shadow Spear here. It's a little awkward. Oh, they're getting a Mox Diamond. Okay. Sure. So they must have like a Seasoned Dungeoneer or Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Or they just want to hold up the Relic mana this turn. Sure. They get 2+1/+1 counters. They have a 5/5 of their own. I don't know that they want to trade here. They might. Oh, fuck. I forgot about my fucking Yorion. Uro is not great. Let's make a land drop. Gain some life. If I attack with a 6/6, the opponent could trade 2 bodies for me and then have the biggest thing on the battlefield. I don't really have time to think about this. Let's play this and see where this goes. It's not going to a place where I get to actually play Uro. I think it's better to put the Yorion into play this turn. Do I want to attack with a 6/6 and trade for both of these bodies? I have a 5/5, chump block a 5/5, crash in. Alternatively, I can attack with both. I don't like the attack in with both. Just attack in with the 6/6. No, this is dumb because they block with a 5/5 and one other body. Yeah, that's fine. I will take out their white plume, though. Alright, this is me trying to play quickly, because I cannot play another game of Magic now. Alright. There's Yorion. Yeah, I think I've punted this game a couple of different ways in trying to play quickly here. Yeah, sure, that's fine. I have another Uro. Not that I necessarily think that I'll get to that, but I have another one. Yeah, I should have just not attacked that turn. Bounced Caves, bounced White Plume and Omnoth my next turn. Alright, Noble Hierarch has been goaded. I don't care about that. They're just trying to get the Menace creature, I guess. Alright, Seasoned Dungeoneer is very good. So I need to remove their White Plume and their Seasoned Dungeoneer next turn, if I can. Pretty unlikely. This one's slipping, but I don't think I can win another game in 3 minutes. Yeah, so that gets protection from creatures. I take 4. I'm at 29. Don't really have a great attack with the Omnoth. Oh, fuck. Yeah. Alright, I was planning on blinking that for sick value. Prismatic Ending. Do that for 4. Start by playing this to see what I draw, though. See if I can draw something more mana efficient. I'm probably just losing to Throne of the Dead 3. Alright. Need to take out Seasoned Dungeoneer. Green, blue, red, white. Fuck, I tapped wrong. Green, blue, red, white. Take out Seasoned Dungeoneer, pass the turn. I punted this one. That's fine. Like, sometimes you have to play quickly so you don't time out. Like, if I spend another minute thinking on my stuff, I just lose in a different way. Man, my opponent's deck list is sick. Taking 10 damage this turn. Ugh. Blue, white. Don't have black mana. I can't Prismatic Ending for 5. It has Hexproof anyway. Oh, there's 4. Ugh. Yeah, I think I win this one if I put the +1/+1 counters on Omnoth, blink my creature one more time, get another card deeper, have not stupid attacks. I am comfortable conceding here. GG's. Okay, final round here. Auto mulligan the first hand, keep the second hand. I think I'm least interested in the Spellseeker of this stuff here. Like, working towards copying White Plume Adventurer seems really good, and I just want the Source to Plowshares for early interaction against any sort of creature deck. Like so. Okay. I want to fetch a basic this game. Like, I can lead on basic into basic and not expose myself to Wasteland. I'm so unlikely to get Wastelanded, though, after my opponent plays Urza Saga. But I think I'm just going to lead on the more convenient land. Like, I've got reasons to save fetch lands, such as Omnoth. Yeah, I mean, saw that coming from a mile away. Okay. This can be fetch for Noble Hierarch while leaving up Swords to Plowshares. Taiga? Probably Taiga. Quick note here. I'm assuming that my opponent isn't playing Blood Moon since they're playing Urza Saga. Like, they can randomly be a painter deck that has both, like, Magus of the Moon and Urza Saga, and I will get super punished for playing the way that I have. But as of right now, I'm more frequently assuming that my opponents are on white initiative decks, since they are all the hotness right now. as evidenced both by what I'm playing and what my opponents have been playing this league. This might be telling, depending on what they get here. Opal into another Urza Saga. Ugh. Okay. Alice on 1. Annoying, but not the end of the world. The Shadow Spear is more of a problem than anything else. I can do a Green Sun for X is 3 here. And no, I can do it for X is 2 and get Collector Oof. That sounds cool. Not game winning, but it stops Shadow Spear from being a thing that I care about. And I probably need to do that. Alright. Let's get the Oof. Opponent could be playing an 8-cast type deck, too. So currently unknown exactly how good this is. Got a lot of value to get through against this opposing Urza Saga. But this Oof in play helps a lot. If my opponent is an 8-cast type deck, got Otawara to think about as something that can take the Oof out of play. Okay, there's a seat. Takes 6 this turn. Not willing to block yet. Palace in play is annoying. It means that like my Ephemerates and Swords to Plowshares are off in the short term. Yes, let's see where Uro goes. I don't really know that I can start this initiative game. Don't have a sweeper that I can work towards. Put an extra land into play. Sacrifice that. I think I'm just dead to Urza Saga. The first one was pretty beatable. The second one just wasn't. Need to fetch here so I don't get this fetch land pithing needled. Blue, blue, green, green. Doesn't matter too much. Let's grab a Trop. Okay, after a long tank, there's the Pithing Needle that I was expecting. Naming Minskin which is a totally reasonable name given the things that my opponent has seen so far. One of these has to be chump blocked. I don't think I can block both. I don't really think I have outs here, though, just generally speaking. Like, my deck's powerful, but double Urza Saga with Ancient Tomb in the opener was blisteringly fast. Alright, 1, 2, 3 cards, maybe 4 cards coming in. I don't think I'm super interested in 2-for-1ing myself a bunch of times with Force of Negation. Spell Pierce feels awkward to me. Lightning Bolt's probably good enough. If I go down on Force of Wills, I can just be better at 1-for-1ing my opponent. Which is probably about where I want to be. If I just 1-for-1 my opponent and then use cards like Fable, Uro, White Plume, Omnath as the game goes on to get multiple 2-for-1s, I can... Well, I can just 1-for-1 a couple of times and then drop Meltdown or Collector Oof and probably win the game. I would like to play first. This is an unexciting, but probably totally reasonable hand. My mana's a little awkward in terms of Brainstorm specifically, but I think this is a keep. This plays Bird into Fable unless I have to Source to Plowshare something like an Emery on turn 1. I think this is pretty easily Savannah. Into Bird. I've got Brainstorm covered off of Volcanic Island, and that also covers Fable. This gives me access to all of my spells in hand. It doesn't give me immediate access to something like Brainstorm Fetch, though. Chalice is very good. Was very good. I'll deal with this Chalice later, though. I believe I would rather just get Fable going immediately. This is just one of those cards that is going to provide great value over time. And I would like to get that clock ticking. Size very good. We'll see how many artifacts my opponent can vomit into play. Kappa Cannoneer could happen right now. Okay, not anymore. Kappa Cannoneer would have been a problem. Alright. I'm going to use this ability and just loot through these brainstorms, since time is kind of a factor here. Ooh. That Solitude is going to be nice. So let's go land drop, cast Prismatic Ending, targeting Chalice. This will make it a CMC2 card, as to not get countered. Ooh, Metallic Rebuke. That's very good here. Do not have the 3 mana. 1, 2, 3, 4. I just have 5 mana to hardcast a Solitude next turn. I don't think I need to attack with this token now. I don't really want this token to die, because I'm just a turner, so away from being able to realistically attack with it. So I was about to say, the big thing that I'm scared of here is my opponent just, like, playing multiple Thoughtcast type cards and then, like, finding a Kappa Cannoneer. Actually, a counterspell for the Solitude is also pretty hot. That's very good. Oh, okay. So Emery has become public enemy number 1. I lives another day. Opponent's got 3 cards in hand. They could force me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I have to Solitude Emery on my own turn here. Alright. I believe a Force of Will here beats me. Nice. Goodbye, Emery. And now I have Solitude Reflection of Kiki-Jiki online as an engine. And Yorion in the not-too-distant future as well. Let's make you big. Yeah. Now, it's not like there's nothing over there that I'm scared of. Like, let's be very clear about that. Like, Psy is a problem. Thought Monitor's scary too. Kappa Cannoneer can come in at any time. My opponent has, 6-ish draw 2 spells remaining in their deck that they can find. Dismember? That's very good. Alright, my opponent gets to crash in with some flyers. I can put Yorion into my hand. Alright. Yorion goes to hand. I can play Yorion on Solitude next turn, taking out either Psy or Thought Monitor. I don't really think I can attack here. There's so much power in the air. I just have to be able to blink this Solitude, I think. Or long term, I just drown from it. The 8-cast deck tends to be pretty good against blue control decks. You just have so many draw 2s and so many things that generate advantages in one way or another, or are extremely difficult to remove. I'm not surprised that I'm coming up on the wrong side of this. I'm so close to coming up on the right side, though. Like, all it's going to take is for me to find one Meltdown caliber card. Alright, so there's a little trick here. My opponent's going to play this, and then they're going to just sacrifice 2 artifacts to draw a card using Psy, so that they can continue to play their own stuff. Alright, they're holding back the 2/2 flyer. They just want to be able to threaten good blocks versus my creatures. Probably sacrifices Opter Token and Chalice. Okay. Cool. No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, we're dead to that Kappa Cannoneer. I now can't imagine a world in which I win. I can play Omnath, gain a little bit of life. I can play Yorion, Solitude, blink something. I think the damage has been dealt here. I am comfortable throwing in the towel. GG's. Alright, overall thoughts on the deck list. Honestly, this one gets a thumbs up. We ended up 2-3, which is not the best record in the world, but one of those games I definitely punted, and some of the other ones were really close. I think ultimately this deck is trying to do too many things, but I think there are good plans in here. I think White Plume Adventurer is a very reasonable thing to consider in a control shell when you can realistically protect the initiative. It is so much value. And I think the Spellseeker Ephemerate package proved itself in some of those matches as well. But I don't know that you get to do everything that you're doing here at once. I think tightening up the plan a little bit is probably good. I felt a little bit awkward about my sideboarding in some of the rounds. Like, so much of this deck is dedicated to the Spellseeker package, which is cool and all, but in the games where you don't actually draw your Spellseeker to tutor for those targets, which is somewhat frequently since we are a Yorion deck and our deck is a little bit larger than normal, like, the cost of building your sideboard like that is pretty high when you don't have just, like, 4 cards that have a high impact versus something like Reanimator, for example. But I like a lot of what's going on here. I just don't know that this is exactly how I want to play things out. But I do know that the initiative is always, always, always going to be in my mind in Legacy moving forward, no matter what the deck is. So I hope you folks enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on the way out. My brain has melted. I'm gonna go get some lunch. I hope you all have a great rest of the day. See ya.